'cause I'm a blue red man.
I want to hear it from you. What are your thoughts on what is going on?
The one in DC that happened with the CRJ, I used to fly that plane when it was brand
Okay.
new.
Okay.
Another friend of mine hit a deer in that airplane and messed it up pretty good way back
Oh
in
my
the day.
gosh.
But these are just little things that happen, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I knew when the report came out on the CRJ incident in Washington, D.C., and I'm not going to sit here and play armchair quarterback, but I know for a fact that that Army helicopter was not where it was supposed to be. And I will leave it up to the professionals to determine that. I already know what I think because I've done that approach and I've done that landing probably over 1,000 times.
Okay.
I've seen those helicopters go by and I
Yep.
see how close they are. And it's always been one of those things is, why do they have to fly those big wigs around? Why can't they just get in a car like everybody else?
Yeah.
But they don't. And that's what mainly those helicopters are there mainly to fly the big brass around, and they're also there to fly escape routes in case anything ever happens in Washington. And it's a necessary thing, but it shouldn't be done probably during peak commercial times. That's all I'm going to say about that one.
That
No,
makes
that
sense.
was a great,
What you said makes sense.
that was a great, yeah,
Yeah.
that was really good.
Yeah. So
When,
so people are all worried about, oh, well, we fired a bunch of air traffic controllers. No, we didn't. We fired a bunch of people that were on basically probation that haven't finished the job or may not be cutting the grade to even think about finishing the job.
Yeah. Another high
Big
stress
difference
job, air
versus,
traffic
oh, we
control.
just let 1,000 air traffic controllers go. That's
Yeah.
not what happened. So big difference. It's all
when
in
a
the
tragedy,
narrative of where you get your news.
when a tragedy like that happens, do you get special briefing or information or anything, something different than the normal public gets, or as a pilot?
No, no, we just get the briefing of what happened. It all comes in a company email, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the gentleman, I didn't know him that was the flight attendant on the PSA aircraft, but I had coffee with him right before Thanksgiving because he took me to work on my commute flight to work.
Wow.
Gosh. Wow. Amazing. It's just,
And to see that happen, and it's a little surreal when you sit there and you think, it's like, oh my gosh, it says, I used to fly that plane. Now it's a pile of scrap metal.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
it
definitely a different feeling.
makes it very surreal.
Yeah. But when something like that doesn't happen, I mean, we still got to go on and do our jobs,
Sure.
you know.
Well, you're a special breed.
Well, they say we're different. I don't know about how special we are because I went to school on a short bus with a tinfoil helmet.
That's
Got these little
special.
curb feelers on the side.
You're a special breed, I'll tell you.
Captain Glenn, do you have any stories that you can share with us about any like wild passengers or any like disruptive passengers that you've had to deal with?
Well, you always have crazy things that happen on a plane. We're just going to say that. I mean, you've got guys that are wanting to fight you. You've got guys I've seen that are trying to do certain things in the back under blankets. You've got people trying to think that they can vape in the bathrooms.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
gosh.
I mean, I threw a lady off the plane the other day because we were running late and I just didn't have time to talk to her. But I'm sitting up there about ready to finish my paperwork up, and all of a sudden the fire bells start going off. And I immediately turned to the back and told the flight attendant, back there in the rear lab, get whoever's out, throw them off, get them out of here. And we were going to the West Coast because you know what? If you can't abide by the rules while we're sitting at the gate, how can I expect you to abide by the rules when we're in flight?
That's
Absolutely.
true.
So she was vaping. Is that what she was doing?
Yeah, she's in there vaping. Now,
Wow.
hey, I used to be a smoker. I know what it's like to want
Sure.
one. I get it. But you know what? I got to follow the rules just like you. Just because I don't do it anymore doesn't mean anything. Nobody likes a quitter, but don't do it in my airplane.
Well,
That's
I
all I'm asking.
respect respect the hell out of you for holding people accountable. I swear it
Well,
doesn't
you
happen.
have to.
Yeah,
You
thank
have
you.
to.
I
You
agree
know,
100%.
I had a guy in Miami that wanted to fight me, and was taking pictures of me and my ID, and I just looked at him. I says, "Here, get this side. This side's better." You
Why did
know,
he want to fight you though? Like what was his problem?
he is being an ass, literally.
Was he
He
I'm
drunk?
was
just
not. He did not
right. Was
play well
he,
with
yeah, was he
others. The
inebriated?
people around him, he was not playing well with others.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He
That's
was
a
causing
problem.
problems.
When you are
So
in
you know
close
what?
quarters, you have to
Yep.
play
And that
nice.
was right back just prior to the pandemic. It's like, all right, it's time for you to go. See ya.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
we had to put up with him just long enough because, called the cops to have him removed. And he didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Let me circle around to not playing well with others, maybe playing too well with others. What did you have to separate some people trying to join the Mile High Club or something? Or
There's always a little bit of that goes on from time to time.
I, I mean, I get it.
Late
I
night
get it.
flight, especially if the plane's half empty.
Yeah, at
Oh,
You
night,
definitely
yeah.
hear the stories.
maybe
Or
a
like
red
an
eye.
overnight
I've also heard
flight. Yeah.
stories of, I've also heard stories of guys trying to get frisky with some of the girls on the plane. They don't even know them.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's
Yeah, I
ballsy.
mean, I've had complaints both ways. I haven't heard anybody that said, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed that." And everybody says, "Oh," and that's always another one of those questions. That might be the third question is, "Oh, have you ever joined the Mile High Club? Have you ever been inside one of those bathrooms?"
They're pretty tight, aren't they?
Trust me, that's not the place you want to go.
Right. Right.
I don't think Costco's got enough baby oil for that. Just saying, just in case you're listening there, Diddy, don't
I
get
don't get any
angry.
of these good stories. So I've been flying a lot for my other job. And
Do your arms get tired when you fly that much?
they do, yes, extremely, especially when I have to go all the way to the other side of the map there. But the only time, the only thing I've
you go out yonder,
out yonder, yes,
out
down there
yonder to
out yonder in the
the land of
holler, yes,
California.
California, Phoenix, that yeah, surrounding
I don't
area.
mind Phoenix so bad.
I don't
The
mind
weather's great in
Phoenix.
California. The people outside of the big towns in California, they're real nice,
Mhm.
but the ones inside the town, they're a little weird.
They're a little weird.
Just
Yeah.
put that
I
out
feel like
there.
there's pockets everywhere. There's pockets of weird people everywhere, though. Everywhere you go. I'm sure you've seen that in your years of
Oh
flying.
yeah, that's what makes the world go around.
That's right. Yeah. But
Takes all kinds.
I've never experienced anything like what you've said as far as like the crazy stories. The most I see is where the flight attendants, and bless them because they have to deal with a lot. But it's usually because people are in the wrong seats and they don't want to give
I
up
couldn't
the
do that
wrong
job.
seat. Oh,
I couldn't do
no.
that job.
Right.
Well, let me rephrase that. I wouldn't do that job.
I wouldn't do it either. It takes a special
just, yeah.
person that
People
has a
are-
lot of
Yeah, I have to have way
patience.
too much authority in order to do that job. That way I
Yeah.
can make sure people are not
But
gonna
I love the
stay-
authority they have. I mean, this more recent flight I was on, the flight attendant, she said that he's not following my direction. He's got off this plane. And they contacted the police to escort him off.
Oh,
And it was
yeah.
all because
I mean, I've had
he
them
would
drug
not
off
give up
'cause they
the
didn't want-
seat that he was in, and he was in the wrong seat.
Yeah, I've had them drug off because they didn't want to go. They're like, "No, I gotta get
Yes.
out." Well, you should have thought about that before you start acting like an idiot.
Right. Again, like you said, it's about playing nice. You just gotta play nice.
I mean, we do get quite a few drunks, and they're not supposed to allow
Yeah.
inebriated people down on the aircraft, but it does
Right.
happen. And
Yeah.
sometimes the flight attendants will make a big deal about it. Oh, so and so in this seat, they're really intoxicated. It smells like a brewery, or she smells like a brewery. So the next thing out of my mouth is, are they bothering anyone? No. Are they
Yeah.
behaving themselves? Yes. So what's the problem?
There you go.
Don't serve
Yeah, if they're
no
one of those
alcohol.
quiet drunks, just leave them alone.
Yeah, but what's the problem? Now, if
Right.
they're bothering
Well,
people, they're being ignorant, being
that's
stupid,
the problem. Right.
time to go.
Yeah.
you can get on the one tomorrow. And
I
it
love it.
happens, you know. I see these fights at the gate where people want to get on. And
Yeah.
you know, you just want a story. Right here's one. All these people came in from I think it was Cancun, and they were going to, I want to say Albany, New York. And they were running late, and I was basically holding the plane because there were so many people running late. And I knew they were running late. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to wait a little bit.
That was nice
Wasn't
of
supposed
you.
to, but I got up out of my seat,
That,
went up to the
yeah.
gate. And what did I run into up at the gate was 4 managers, a gate agent, and some guy cussing out my gate agent and
Oh
manager.
boy.
And then there's a lady there, and they're trying to ask her if she's going to get on the plane or not. And he's still going at it with these other ones, and he's calmed down and everything. And I pulled her to the side. I says, ma'am, are you wanting to go? Because if you're wanting to go, you're behaving yourself. I'm more than happy to take you. Well, we got to get home. I got kids at home. I got the, okay, so do you want to get on the plane? Well, he's not doing anything wrong. I says, he's not doing anything wrong? Well, no, look, he's been behaving and everything.
Mhm.
And the next thing that comes out of his mouth is MF this, those, you know what's. And I said,
Wow.
and you want me to take that with me to New York? I says, nah, he's coming back tomorrow morning, but you can go if you want to. No, I'm going to stay with him. I says, your choice, but I'm going to leave y'all.
Hmm.
And I did. I left him
So
because he,
when you get back to your seat after that situation, what does your announcement to all the other passengers sound like? Or
oh, I
why we're
usually
running
tell,
a little late?
well, well, on a situation like that, I usually will tell them that, hey, we've got some last minute runners, and this is the last flight of the night, and we're just holding for a few more minutes here at the gate, and we'll get going, be underway, and we're still expected to be in at such and such time, which is usually about 10 to 15 minutes early, anyways. So
Hmm.
even if I hold for 10 minutes, I'm still going to be on time or
You're still
early,
good on time.
nine
Yeah.
times out of 10.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So it's the last flight of the night, and there's, you know, you got 10 to 12 people that are misconnecting, and all these people were coming through customs. You know, they'll usually hold for those.
Awesome.
Otherwise, if I don't know they're coming, or if we got a bunch of people that's going to misconnect, there's not a lot I can do unless it's the last flight of the night. And
Gotcha.
after that, it's like all I can do is get up out of my seat, go to the gate agents. They'll get mad as hell at us. I mean, I did that the other day for a lady and the gate agent. They were getting into it right in the galley of the airplane. So I stepped back there to see what was going on. And this lady and her daughter, they're waiting on her husband. And he's up at the top of the gate and nobody will let him down. And she's like, well, it's past 15 prior to departure time. I'm not going to let him down. So you know, I just stepped off the plane, went up to the top and seen what was going on. And there was Dr. So and so. I don't know him. I do know that he was a doctor from Vanderbilt. I did get that much out of him, only because when we went back downstairs, the gate agent was laying in the floor with a panic attack. And guess who was tending to the gate agent? Oh, it was the doctor
The
they were
doctor
pulling out.
that
Wow.
caused the one that caused the panic
Little
attack.
irony
A
there.
Yeah.
little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, with that one trip though to the podium, I got 5 more people on the flight, not just the
Nice.
doctor.
True.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, plus the gate agent was laying in the floor. We had to clean that up too.
Well, yeah.
There's that.
You know, you can't have everything. And I told him, I says, you know, you can't be doing that. I just had someone die in December in my galley like that. I says, you can't gotta quit doing that.
Hmm. While you were in flight?
No, I made it to the gate. And the last passenger off literally died in my galley.
Good
What?
gracious. That,
Yeah, I think they had a blood clot because
Oh,
they had been traveling for about 16 hours on a plane.
hmm.
And I picked them up in San Francisco and took them over halfway across the country as well. And we got into the gate and I was actually up front with the maintenance guy. And the next thing I heard was clunk. And I turn around and look and there's an Asian guy laying on the floor. He said, oh, I okay. And he's trying to get up. And I just turn around, go back to doing what I was doing. Next thing I know, the flight attendant's like, "Hey, I need EMS. I need EMS." And sure enough, we needed
Wow.
EMS.
Oh my gosh.
But I really felt bad for him because he had his two grandsons. I mean, they were in their 20s,
Oh,
but that's the first time I ever had that happen. That
I
was
was
a
gonna
first.
say, is that your first time that's happened? And it is.
That
So,
was the first time that happened.
well, that's a good
That was
thing.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
But just to show you how good even the companies are about stuff like that. They're like, "Hey, you can take off. We'll just send you home." I was making one more flight that day and going home. They're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you don't have to fly it. You can do this, you can do that." And I said, "No." So I'm not going to disrupt the people. I says, it'll take you 2 hours to get this thing covered. I'm just going to fly my leg. I'll be done. Everybody be
Yeah.
happy, get home on time, and we're not going to worry
Wow.
about it.
Wow.
And I had more than one manager. I think I had 3 managers try to talk me out of flying that day. And I was like, I didn't want to go into the details of it. And I says, not that it's not a big thing that when you watch somebody die, but I have seen that happen a few times in my life. But it was also happened to be the same day that my father had passed away. And I've been thinking about him all day. And then I had
Wow.
that happen.
Wow. That's a
Wow.
little spooky.
So yeah, that was a little too much irony for me. But I was like, nah,
Right.
we're going home. We're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. One
So
more
there's
quick
a lot of
question.
stuff, like you said, when you see this stuff go on, you see things happen, and the thing you've got to do is be able to compartmentalize and go, okay, this is done and over. We're moving on to the next thing.
I can tell you
We
do
got
that
we got
very
bigger
well.
fish to fry. We
Yeah.
got a job to do, and we got to do this. So you got to take all that and put it behind you and start over from
Yeah.
scratch and get going.
I call that zero drama. You just deal with the cards you're dealt and move on.
Yep.
Love
And
it.
it's the biggest thing that I used to always teach guys. It's like, hey, we're here for 4 days. Whatever happens on day 1, 2, 3, or 4, let it roll off your back until it's time to go home because you're stuck here. You ain't going anywhere until then, unless you call out.
Airports. What is your most challenging airport to fly in and out of that you've encountered?
Say that again.
As far as airports,
Yeah.
most
Which ones I like
challenging,
best or
dislike,
challenging?
challenging.
Oh, that I dislike?
Yes.
Oh gosh, the only one I don't know. I still
Who's
ain't a
got
huge
short
fan of
runways?
Chicago.
Who's got the short runways?
Oh, those don't bother me.
No?
You act like it. No, that's when you say go Navy every time you land.
Say what? Say that again.
Go Navy.
You just say go Navy. You just got to set it down a little firmer. That's all.
Uh-huh. It's a
You
technique.
can't play. We're supposed to set them down in the first 2,000 feet of the runway, anyways. So if you're
Right.
going to go past that, if you go past 3,000 feet, you're going to get a call from the gatekeeper and say,
I believe
"Hello,
it.
what were you
What are you
doing?"
doing?
Because the
What are you
airplane's going to tell
doing?
us.
Uh-huh.
Why would you give up
So
the
So
first
why not
2,000
just be
feet?
a
Why would you
Navy
give that
pilot
up?
and set it down and you don't have to worry about getting no phone calls? Hey, every landing that you walk away from is a great landing.
I agree. If I don't see fire trucks and
Okay?
all that, I think it's great.
Yeah, if you don't see smoke, fire,
Yep.
sparks, you should be good, right?
I, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
So,
great.
I mean, I guess DC was always a real fun one to fly back in the days of flying the RJs. That was a fun airport to fly in and out of.
So you like that one?
LaGuardia was Yeah, LaGuardia was always fun, but you got to be on your
Fun
toes
because
because
it's
there's a lot
challenging?
going on. I'm sorry?
Is it fun because they're challenging airports?
Well, no, it's not that they're real challenging. It's just
Okay.
you get to do more fun stuff.
Okay.
Well, that's like all right. Let's go back to that crash in DC.
Yeah.
Okay, back in the day when we used to do that approach in the runway 33, we used to stay over the water, so you'd have to cut it in kind of tight.
Oh, yeah.
Bank it in, roll out, and you're going to land in like 5 seconds, 6 seconds, maybe. It all
Wow.
happens quick.
Yeah.
But years ago, they made us expand out and go over the land. So if they weren't going over the land like they were, say the other day, a few months ago when all that happened,
Mm-hmm.
if they weren't doing that, maybe that would have never happened. I don't know.
Hmm.
Like I said, I
Yeah.
can't armchair quarterback that, but
Right.
I know it used to be a great place to do a turnaround to point. And to me, it was always kind of funny because there's a buoy in the water that if you just put your left wing on that buoy and bank it and keep that wing on that buoy, you're going to roll right out on the center line of 3-3 every time. Every
Damn.
time.
That
What
is
a
awesome.
maneuver. What a
That's
maneuver.
awesome.
And when you roll out, if you're between 300 and 400 feet, you're going to be on the VASI. You are making a perfectly good and safe landing every time.
Wow.
And
And
it
then when you
sounds
take off of 1-5 the opposite way, they never wanted us to go over to the other side of the river. So we'd have to bank it hard to go up the river to join the course if we would have taken off of 1-9. So that was more fun too. You
more
don't get to
fun.
do that kind of stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's why I said it used to be more fun.
Sure.
So, Captain Glenn, do you think what's more challenging, the takeoff or the landing?
Well, I haven't really had a takeoff that I ever thought was very challenging. I mean, it can get windy, but I
Yeah.
also see where guys get happy feet where you feel the airplane jerking left and right, and that's because their feet are moving on the rudder pedals trying to steer it better when they're using too much pressure on one side. They're
And that's
kind
what
of
they call
chasing
it,
it.
happy feet.
And that's what I call it.
Okay.
If you just put your heels on the floor and just put the balls of your feet on the pedals, chances are you're not going to do that so much.
Yeah.
But when you're coming into land, like on an Airbus, it doesn't have the regular yoke like most planes. So if you get to moving that back and forth on a windy day, it's like churning butter. And the plane, it's all electronic signals. So if you go one way, there's a slight delay. Then you go the other way, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. You're better off just to let go, start over from scratch, and make small corrections.
It's a joystick type situation.
Yep, it's a
Oh,
joystick.
oh
Yep.
wow. Huh.
I always
Interesting.
call it churning butter when I see guys that are fighting it
Churning
because their
butter.
hands doing circles,
Ah.
going back and forth, back and forth, back and
I
forth.
love all these technical terms that we're
Churning butter.
using. Yeah.
Well, we're pretty high tech here in the aviation
Happy
business.
feet, churning butter.
We're all about NASA approved terminology and FAA regulations here.
Oh my gosh.
Sure, there's an acronym for all that somewhere. I'm not sure where.
Yeah. Yeah. CB, churning butter. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
you got it. So landing, it can be a little bit more sporting
Okay.
on a windy day.
Yeah.
Sure.
And actually, I would, and I'm gonna say this about every pilot, they do not want to, when it says wind is calm, it's like, all right, there goes the neighborhood. It's gonna be a crappy landing.
Mm.
Really? With
Yep,
calm wind.
with calm winds, it's the worst.
Why?
And I think it's because we don't have to try so hard.
Okay.
Mm.
So in other words, we're not really on top of it like we would.
There's
if
nothing
it's
working against
a
you
little
there.
challenge.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Same thing
Very
with an
cool.
empty airplane. It's harder to land an empty airplane smoothly. Let me rephrase
Oh,
that. Smooth.
that's true. Yeah.
Because when you pull the pot, when you get down there to that 20 feet, an airplane likes to call you a retard because that's what it says. At 20 feet, it says retard, retard, retard. When you're a real light airplane, it doesn't want to settle onto the runway, and sometimes you got to help it down.
Okay.
And sometimes that causes a kerklunker.
Another technical term.
There it is. There it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
It's another one. It's fancy. I mean, you gotta spend a lot of money to come up with these kind of terms.
Lots of hours flying to come up with these terms.
About
too.
19,000 flying hours,
About
right?
19,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
Captain
about
Glenn,
it.
is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to share with us?
Well, turbulence, y'all just need to learn to hold on a little bit better and watch that sign.
So, okay, turbulence. The people that don't put their seatbelts on, I'm telling you, I've got to fly in
Well,
some
hey.
small planes and small planes that hit air pockets, and I've watched people bounce off the ceiling. And I'm
I've
telling
seen it
you,
happen on I've seen it happen on airliners.
if my If my happy ass is in an airline seat, I'm buckled in. I'm just telling you. I don't care if it's the smoothest, most beautiful day out there. Doesn't matter
Oh
because I
yeah,
don't.
because you don't know.
You can't
You
see
don't
air
know when
pockets,
it's
right?
going to happen. And if you think that I've got my crystal ball up there, you are extremely wrong. I've got a magic 8 ball. And when I say it's going to be smooth the whole flight and I shake it, it's going to say probably not likely. Just the way it is.
I really want to fly with you someday. I really do. Oh,
Well, sometimes you pay for a ticket, sometimes you get a ride.
no,
I can't always take the smooth paved road. Every once in a while, I take the dirt road and it's a little bumpy.
I love it.
Well, yeah,
So
just
Captain,
the thing about airplane mode and the cell phones, when you guys decide that you're going to leave your phone on and not turn off that signal, you remember how the old internet connection used to be where it made all that nice funky noise?
Yeah,
oh, the dial
beep.
up?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
You remember those days?
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
It sounds like that in my headset when y'all want to leave your phones on.
Really?
Wow.
Does it
Because it's
mess with any
searching for
technology that you use?
it is searching for a signal.
Okay.
And like when we land, I don't know if it's the amount of phones, that part I don't know. But the chances of hearing it up at altitude is slim because it's not going to connect to any of those towers up there. All it's going to do is run down your battery. Okay. But say once we land, what's the first thing y'all start doing? Start going for that power button. You're going to turn it on, and that's when I can
true.
start
We
hearing
do.
all the interference in my headset.
Wow.
And maybe it's the amount of people. Now, does it do it every time? Not every time, but a lot of times you'll hear it.
Interesting.
Now, is that 100% what it is? I don't know. That's what I see. That's what I
Mhm.
hear.
And you
And
actually,
considering what y'all are all doing back there in the back, I have a pretty good damn idea that I think it's where you're hitting the power button and everybody's logging on to a signal at once.
Right. Oh, for sure. That's exactly what we're all doing. Yes.
That's my guess, because you
Yeah.
can't do without that pacifier of that phone.
Yeah. That's
fire.
you're
Love it.
you're accurate. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, back in the day, that was always the big thing. Need you turn your phone off, and people wouldn't turn their phone off. Shit, we used to have to throw people off over that. So, oh my
Wow.
God, it's flying. Sorry, I got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, people just can't listen sometimes.
Well, that would make it too easy.
It was
Yeah, no, Joe, we've had this discussion. Remember, rules don't apply to certain people. Rules
And
don't
that's a
apply.
fact.
no
I mean,
comment.
that is just the facts of life, and it's never going to change.
Yeah.
It's never going to change. And
Yeah.
that's why when you get somebody that doesn't want to follow the rules, there is no reason in the world why you shouldn't kick them off and let them come back tomorrow, and maybe they'll learn their lesson.
Well, and I think that's why I appreciate that the pilots and the flight attendants and even the gate attendants use that authority because they recognize, for the most part, they recognize someone who either shouldn't be on the flight or is going to cause a disruption or is already causing a disruption and it's just going to continue. And they say, you need to listen to me. There's rules. Like you have to abide by those rules. And I appreciate that they will, for the most part, from what I've seen, is they do their due diligence. Most of the time they don't just let it go because they know this is going to cause a disruption for everyone.
Everyone.
Right. And a lot of times, I mean, it's all in pecking order once again. Once that gate agent brings them down and they step foot on that aircraft,
Yeah,
as the captain of the aircraft, it is now your problem, not the flight attendants, but
that's
your
true.
problem.
Yeah,
So once the flight
absolutely.
attendants come to you and say, hey, I have an issue, it has to be addressed. You can't let it go. And if you don't back up your flight attendants with their thoughts, then you're not gonna do very well.
Yeah,
They're not
Sure.
yeah,
they're not
Yeah.
gonna want to listen because I mean the ultimate decision comes from the captain regardless. And if I'm not on the airplane, it goes to the first officer, and then it starts going to the pecking order of the flight attendants.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, Captain Glenn,
Yeah.
I've got a few rapid fire questions for you, if that would be
All
okay.
right.
All right.
I got this
So-
silly. I'll fire back.
Okay. So when you fly, when you're not flying the aircraft, when you're just a passenger, do you prefer window or aisle seat?
I prefer the aisle seat usually.
Okay. I'm right, same. Thank you. Yes, I prefer aisle seat. Yes. What about your favorite layover meal? Is there a favorite meal or a favorite restaurant that you like to go to when you're during a layover?
Oh, I got a few of those because I kind of go by my overnights to look forward to where I'm going to eat at. And I hate to say
Okay.
it, but probably Portland, Oregon is my favorite place to go walk for breakfast. I go about a mile to a place called Joe Brown's in Vancouver, Washington. It's
Okay.
about a mile from our hotel, and I slide into Starbucks and grab a coffee, and I go about another 6 to 8 blocks and go to a place that looks like you're walking in the 1950s with all tile
Oh,
on
I
the
love
wall,
that. Yeah.
the old cafe style looking place.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorites.
Okay. So you look, that's
If you're
a
in
flight that
Dallas,
you look forward
Texas,
to. Yeah.
If you're in Dallas, Texas, a place called the Hard Eight Barbecue, you can never go wrong, ever.
They need to pay you for these plugs.
So those are some good ones. Those are
Yeah.
some really good ones. So yeah, I should be getting a kickback, royalties, free breakfast.
I was gonna say free
something like
breakfast,
that.
free barbecue, a t-shirt, something.
Yeah, I'm not hard to please. I just like to be fed.
We all do.
Yeah, you
So
can call me
where,
anything you want. Just don't call me late for supper.
there you go. So
Right there with you.
my last quick fire question is where do you like to travel? Where do you like to go for vacation, or
I love to go home. That's a good place.
that's your favorite place? Okay.
That's a
That's
great
one of my
answer.
favorite places.
Yeah.
Anywhere that doesn't require an airport is great.
Perfect.
I know that sounds kind of crazy, but if it's less than a 10-hour drive, I'm driving. If it's more than 10 hours, I'm flying.
Yeah.
So you have a 10-hour rule.
Yep, I got a 10-hour rule. So if I can drive there in 10 hours, I'll drive it. If it's over that, I am not driving that sucker. I'll be on an airplane with the screaming kids. I don't care.
I love it. I love the 10-hour rule.
Yep.
That's a good way to
Well,
go.
when you go on vacation, do you really want to go I mean, if you want to go on vacation, let's go do a few interviews like this for 4 days or 2 days of your vacation time. Does that sound like fun? That don't sound like vacation.
No.
You used to work in the NASCAR business, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to the race weekend. Every
Yeah.
weekend you're on vacation.
Yeah, that's what everybody thought.
I don't want to go there.
Yep. Oh man, you get to go to Las Vegas. You get to go to Phoenix. I said, yeah, but we don't get to do anything.
I go to Las Vegas quite a bit. How often you go to the casino or get out and have fun? Usually I'm working.
There you
But,
go.
there's another place, Las Vegas. There's another good place to go. One of the places that I've found there that you can find cheap food, even though they went up on it, but you can go over to Ellis Island Casino and Restaurant and you get steak and eggs for breakfast for $14. It was $9 up until I don't know, right before that Formula One race started. I mean, what a deal.
What a deal.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's all in perspective of what you want and where you're going.
There you
That's
go.
right.
All right, Boomer, what else you have? Anything for Captain Glenn?
I don't. I was just going to ask Captain Glenn if he had any final thoughts or anything. I appreciate that we're not only getting some behind the scenes, but we're also getting some additional, tidbits on travel and leisure. If we ever, head over to Portland or Vegas
Or Dallas.
or Dallas.
Yep.
It's all about good food at that point. just do us a favor. When y'all decide to go on that cruise, make sure you go down the day before. Don't ever leave the day of and say, oh, but I'm not leaving till 3. Well, God may not know that you're leaving at 3, nor does Mother Nature. Go down the day before, relax,
Some
enjoy.
more
The
great
boat
advice.
is not going to wait on you, I promise.
Very true.
A
I
10-hour
am
rule.
100% sure of that.
There you go.
The plane might break down. The weather could be bad. And that's where, when you decide to fly, and like I said, they're all good. But when you start looking at places that you're going for vacation, you got to start looking at, well, how many times does that company fly there a day?
Hmm.
Because if one plane breaks, are you still going to get there?
Hmm.
Or are you going to be stuck until, oh, they don't fly there but 3 times a week?
That's true.
So now you're going to miss out on 2 days or 3 days of your vacation.
Of your vacation. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you're driving and it might be over 10 hours. And guess who ain't driving over 10 hours?
Sage
Captain Glenn.
advice here. Sage
I
advice
ain't
on
doing it.
today's
I
episode.
ain't doing it.
See?
Oh,
You know, I
awesome.
mean, so if you're going to Tampa on a cruise or Fort Lauderdale, whatever it is, go down the day before, kick back, get you an umbrella drink, chill
There you go.
out, put your
There
feet
you
in the
go.
pool, go to the beach, go see Mickey Mouse, whatever you got to go do.
Just don't
Just
leave the
don't
day
go
of.
the day of.
Yeah.
Don't go the day of. You'll be
Oh.
highly disappointed. Now, there's a good story. I can tell you another good story about people going on cruises. You gotta
Really?
love these people. Oh yeah, never will forget it. This is back in the RJ days.
Okay.
This will be the last one, and we'll wrap this up. But I was pushing out of Bentonville, Arkansas, old Walmart land out there one day, and the next thing I hear, door, 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 and I see this woman go running across the ramp, shut down everything, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? And flight attendant, we open the door. What is going on? I said, well, this lady said she wasn't going. They were going on a cruise, I guess for an anniversary, and she wasn't going. Well, guess who was going? Her husband. He stayed on the plane,
Oh,
and
wow.
we left her there. I said,
Okay.
all right, I guess he's got an empty cabin. He's going to have a good time.
He's going to have a great time and make new friends.
He might have been divorced when he
I was
got
going to say,
back.
I wonder if they're still
But-
married.
You know, yeah, you see, these are questions we would really like to know. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Exactly.
what happened?
The follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there should be a way to follow up. Even the people that get kicked off the plane or get arrested or what,
Yeah.
there should be a follow up. But we don't ever get that little tidbit of information. But I've never forgotten that morning at 5:30 in the morning watching that blonde-haired woman run across the ramp. Never forgot that.
Some
She
things
was,
just
probably-
she
stick.
was determined to not
Oh my
go.
gosh, that was over 20 years ago.
Wow.
There's
I've
no way
never
they're
forgotten.
married. There's no way they're married yet. No way.
I don't know. Maybe stranger things have happened, Joe.
Well, that's true.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. I
All
mean,
right.
you don't think it can happen, but trust me, it can happen. Whatever
Anything
it is.
can
Oh, I
happen.
think that's a great wrap up for that. Thank you. So so Joe, I think it's safe to say that flying might seem like a science, right? But after today's episode, I think we can all agree that there's a little mystery and magic in the skies. And huge thanks to Captain Glenn for joining us and giving us some excellent and amazing stories and just little tidbits that we may never get to hear about unless we're, of course, 35,000 plus feet in the air. Make sure to subscribe and share this episode. Leave us a review if you enjoyed today's flight. And until next time, everybody, safe travels and stay curious.
Here to dance, and I didn't come here to talk. I just came here for the whiskey, and I'll be here